Mm, 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 mm. AOA podcast. I was a little Our Lady Peace. Does anybody remember Our Lady Peace? Clumsy. What was the other one they had? Superman's Dead. There was so many good Our Lady Peace. Maybe one of the lost bands of the 90s. They're just fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Speaking of which, we've got a fantastic podcast program for you. The Epstein MAGA Trump drama continues here. As I predicted, I'm not always right, but I nailed this one. It's only getting worse and worse and worse for the current administration. We've got missing 3 minutes of that jail surveillance footage to discuss on the podcast. We've got Trump completely losing it on Truth Social. We've got Republicans who protected Jeffrey Epstein by voting against a procedural vote to release the missing documents, the remaining documents, I should say. Then we got a actual bill from a Republican and a Democrat to release all that information. We'll share that with you. Mike Johnson rarely breaks from President Trump. He's done it over the Epstein thing. And there's a poll out from Quinnipiac on how the administration is handling all of this Jeffrey Epstein controversy. Oh, my gosh. That's a lot of information, but it's essentially a one topic episode, and it starts now. I'll be waving my hand. Our Lady Peace. I was rocking it all day long today, and it's just so darn good. Hello to all the AOA holes out there. Debbie, hello. Flying YTD. Mercury, are you okay? I saw some alarming stuff in the Discord chat. By the way, if you love the show and you haven't joined our Discord yet, make sure you do that. Also, you're going to want to be a part of our members only area. Link in the description below on this episode. Join up. You can do so for as low as $2.99 a month. That money goes to help support my the podcast, I mean, and helps us do all the fun stuff that we do here, the virtual studio, all the things that we have to do and pay for. So we appreciate your support by becoming a member. Hopping into the big topics of the day today here, Wired came out with a story earlier that they've concluded through analyzing the footage that the DOJ released, unedited footage, mind you, which we found out was not true. But Wired did an even deeper dive than the original because we knew that there was a minute missing from that video footage because it went from 11:59 to midnight. Wired comes out with a story today. There's actually 3 minutes of missing footage from the Jeffrey Epstein prison surveillance video. 3 minutes. That is a lot of time. That's a lot of time. If we sat here in silence for 3 minutes right now, you would be a minute in, you'd be like, this is a long time. This is actually a long time. And I know that because when I was on the radio, when I was on the air doing the morning show with Anthony, I did that once as a bit, and it was uncomfortable for everybody involved. It did land me in the corner office. It was one of the many things I got in trouble for over the course of my career. But everybody was riveted. Nobody tuned out in those 3 minutes of complete dead air. Nobody tuned out. But 3 minutes is a long time. For instance, I'll give you a little behind the scenes for your old pal Ann here. I made a human being in less than 3 minutes. In fact, if you put the time together of the both times that I used to make 2 human beings, both of them combined was also under 3 minutes. So you can make a life and perhaps even take a life in that span of time. I'm just saying, just talking from personal experience here, just saying, 3 minutes is a long period of time. Now, we know that the raw, unedited footage, according to the DOJ, that they gave us was not raw and not unedited. We know it was edited in Adobe Premiere Pro, which we've used here on the podcast. We know that at least one source clip from that material was 2 minutes and 53 seconds longer than what they gave us. And we know that they put together 2 different clips as well. So not only the combination of 2 different clips, but one of those clips was 2 minutes and 53 seconds longer, and that is now gone. We don't know what was in that. Could be nothing. Could be everything. But that's not even the point. The point is Kash Patel, Dan Bongino, Pam Bondi, President Trump. You go up and down the line. They all promised and said, and with those first, Trump said they was just coming out. Those other three are more directly responsible for this. We are going to give you the footage. Bongino and Kash Patel specifically went on Fox News and other outlets, Joe Rogan, one to name a few, and said, we are going to give you all the footage. And then we go to find out we've got 2 spliced different clips, and one of those clips is 3 minutes shy. That's the definition of dishonesty. That's the definition of cover up. Now, again, could there be nothing on there? There's a chance. You know, there's also a chance we could wake up tomorrow and gravity will be gone, right? I mean, anything is possible, really. I always like to use this phrase, just because the sun has come up for the past billion or so years doesn't mean it's going to come up tomorrow, right? There's a chance it could not go. So there's a chance nothing happened in those 3 minutes. Then there's a chance that something did happen, and that's why they opted to leave it out. But the point is, don't go promising you're going to get everything and then give us different clips, some of them short footage. That's ridiculous. That's not transparency. That's not honesty. That's not being upfront. It's not what any of it is. So this administration, we went from Bongino doesn't want to go back to work with Bondi and this and that. If you ask me, all 3 of these people should be fired immediately for how they mishandled this entire thing. That DOJ press release that came out, was it a week and a half ago, was the biggest mistake we've seen the Department of Justice make. And oh boy, they've made a lot of mistakes since the beginning of their creation. I mean, you go back to all the administrations and you can point to big moments where the Department of Justice made some errors. This by far is the biggest one, promising everything and delivering an absolute farce. And then you go back to the first time Pam Bondi said that they were going to be releasing all the Epstein information, and then she laid those binders on all those influencers who, by the way, did not know that was coming, did not know that was happening. We've since found out that they were handed those binders and pushed out onto the White House lawn where the press gaggle was there just waiting to take their photos. So what else are they going to do that hold it up and act like they were going to save the world? And it was all a big farce. They have done nothing but lie to us and act like we're going to give you everything. And it's been a huge disappointment. That to me is the definition of failure. Those 3 should be immediately fired. I understand President Trump likes to stand behind his people, but this is ridiculous at this point. There should be nobody happy with this, Democrat or Republican. Party lines don't matter. Like I said, I've said this a million times. Party lines don't matter with Jeffrey Epstein information. It doesn't matter. People don't think along the lines of party. And Donald Trump is trying to paint it that way to get his followers on his side. And as we've seen, and as we'll discuss in the poll later on in this episode, it's not working. It is definitely not working. President Trump is indeed losing it. We've got to go to his Truth Social post from earlier this morning. I missed the early morning tweets. You know, when Donald Trump first administration, Frank hates this, but first administration, Donald Trump was classic. He'd get on that toilet bowl, take a dump in the morning, and then just send out some crazy tweets, Kofifi, and all the great stuff that we had from back in the day. I miss those days, and it seems like we're right back at it. By the way, hit the share button on this episode if you're watching on Facebook or YouTube. Helps us with the algorithm. You have no idea how much those little things help. I hate saying this crap, but it's so true. Like it, share it. Just hit the share button, put it on your Facebook page. Who cares? Put it on your Instagram stories if that's your thing. Whatever it is, just hit the share button on Facebook or YouTube. It definitely helps us. Please do that if you can right now. Helping out with the algorithm. We're getting, by the way, just so you guys know, Epstein, Trump, MAGA. We put MAGA in the title, even though we shouldn't have. All these things that we do kill our reach. They kill our reach. So by you guys sharing this episode, it helps. Believe you me, it definitely helps. Here's President Trump's Truth Social from earlier today. We've still not. It's like a bit now that we just can't get this the right. What asshole came up with this? The problem with interns is you don't pay them and their work shows. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't know who thought that this was a good idea. But this is too big. It's too much me. Oh, here, this is the one I'm looking for. Okay, let's go with this one. President Trump losing it. So here's the Truth Social that he sent out earlier today. This was from about 9 o'clock this morning. The radical left Democrats have hit pay dirt again, just like with the fake and fully discredited Steele dossier, the lying 51 intelligence agents, the laptop from hell, which the Dems swore had come from Russia. No, it came from Hunter Biden's bathroom. And even the Russia scam itself, a total fake and made up story used in order to hide crooked Hillary Clinton's big loss in the 2016 presidential election. These scams and hoaxes are all the Democrats are good at. It's all they have. They are no good at governing, no good at policy, no good at picking winning candidates. That last line is one I'm not going to disagree with, actually. The governing thing is up for debate. Policy, I would agree with, and they can't seem to pick a winner lately. I will say that. Between Biden, Kamala, and now this Mamdani, I don't know. I don't know if they know what they're doing right now. I've lost faith in the Democrats when it comes to at least picking candidates. Anyway, also, unlike Republicans, they stick together like glue. Cheap shot. He's not happy. That's a hurt man. This line right here, also, unlike Republicans, they stick together like glue. Daddy's feelings are hurt. You've hurt Daddy's feelings. It's all coming out. Any 2-bit psychiatrist will tell you that's very telling. I've lost my Johnson. Mike Johnson used to be with me. I've lost my Johnson completely. It's very upsetting. He used to be my guy. He was there. Their new scam is what we will forever call the Jeffrey Epstein hoax. Classic Trump trying to label it. And my past supporters, past in caps, my past supporters have bought into this bullshit hook, line, and sinker. I have not seen President Trump turn on his people like this. To label them past supporters and say that they've fallen for this bullshit hook, line, and sinker is pretty harsh words. Now, President Trump has had harsh words for people in public. He's had harsh words for people in public who have turned on him, but never that blind, meta supporter. You know what I'm saying? Never that. And before people come at me with, "Oh, this is TDS," this is a unbiased calling it like I see it. That man has lost supporters before. Not a lot. Some. You've never seen him lash out at them like this. This is crazy. This is uncharacteristic of him. They haven't learned their lesson, and they probably never will. Even after being conned by the lunatic left for 8 long years, I have had more success in 6 months than perhaps any president in our country's history, and all these people want to talk about with strong prodding by the fake news and the success-starved Dems is the Jeffrey Epstein hoax. Let these weaklings continue forward and do the Democrats' work. Don't even think about talking of our incredible and unprecedented success, because I don't want their support anymore. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Make America great again. That sign off again, that corporate, let's put a pin in it. Let's circle back on this. Thank you for your attention to this matter. It's just so weird to me. I don't know why he keeps breaking this out when discussing the Epstein stuff. He seems to go to this with the Epstein stuff a lot. I don't really see him sign off on tweets or Truth Socials like that. He seems to be doing it a lot with this for whatever reason. It's not really entirely clear to me. Also, again, note, let these weaklings continue to do the Democrats' work. So what he's doing essentially is he's trying to get the Republicans, the MAGA people, who have kind of turned on him, to start to feel bad about what they're doing. He's trying to put them on the side of the Democrats by saying, "Hey, you're not a Republican anymore. You're a Democrat. You're on their side now," which is probably the biggest insult you can levy upon a MAGA person. One of the most insulting things I think you could do to a MAGA supporter is call them a liberal or a Democrat. That's pretty insulting. You can say any other insulting thing that you can think of, anything, your mama jokes or whatever would insult normal people. For me, it's, saying shit like Olive Garden is genuine Italian cuisine. That's insulting to me. I get very upset when people think that. But for a MAGA supporter to call them a liberal or a Democrat, I remember a friend of mine who loves Donald Trump put solar panels on his roof, and I abused him endlessly for being an environmentalist for like a week and a half. And it was, he got upset. I had to stop because I think he was getting upset, or I was getting annoying. I don't know. It was one of those two. It's very close sometimes. Sometimes it's kind of hard to tell. I can definitely get annoying. Just ask my wife. But I just remember him being like, I don't like this. And I feel like that holds true for most of the MAGA supporters. So to kind of see the boss, the daddy, to kind of see daddy go, well, you guys are Democrats now, or you're falling for, you're weak. Republicans, MAGA, they represent strength all the time. To go with that, you're weak and you're doing the Democrats' work is probably going to make some people feel unsettled about going against Big Daddy in this particular instance. And again, this isn't political. This is not Trump derangement syndrome, no matter what you want to label me to make yourself feel better about yourself. This is a look in the mirror. He has fucked this up. He has mishandled this. And the people that he put in charge have colossally mishandled it. Bongino, Patel, Bondi. And he's also made it clear that he does love those other two, but he is standing behind Pam Bondi. I don't know what the allegiance is, because he spoke very high, and he still does. He's not like turned on Patel or Bongino. By the way, we haven't really heard from Bongino. We saw him go back to work, but we haven't really heard from him. I don't think he's done a press conference or anything. I don't think he's going to want to anytime soon. But he is sticking with Pam Bondi. He's not going to shy away from her for whatever reason. But I was surprised to see that message. Again, when Trump got frustrated over Iran and Israel, he said they don't know what the fuck they're doing. Again, I don't love it when the president's cursed, but I understood. I felt his frustration at the time. Guy just negotiates a ceasefire, then all of a sudden these two countries start unloading weapons on each other. Like, that's not how a ceasefire works. If that was me, if I was him, I would have probably lost my shit too. I don't know if I would have cursed in front of cameras, but I get it. He's off the hook for that for me. And then to see him drop the bullshit line, talk about past supporters and weaklings, labeling it the Jeffrey Epstein hoax. He's trying his hardest, and I don't think it's working. And by the way, this latest poll supports it. Going over to the Republicans that are protecting Jeffrey Epstein. It's kind of a harsh headline, but it is fair to me when I tell you what happened here. So the Democrats and the Republicans were in a committee meeting, right? And I will say, to be fair, they were in a committee meeting discussing something that had nothing to do, absolutely nothing to do with Jeffrey Epstein. I don't know if I forget what it was, but they were in, So Ro Khanna, who's a Democrat, tabled an amendment for the House vote requiring Pam Bondi to preserve and release any records related to Jeffrey Epstein. So it was kind of like a procedural thing. He just throws it out there in the middle of a committee meeting. And the motion was defeated 5-7, with one Republican, Ralph Norman, voting yes alongside the Democrats. So 7 Republicans voted against this. Now, the excuse, because I haven't heard from all of them, but I'm going to read you each and every one of their names because I believe they need to be out there. I'm sure if you asked them, their excuse was that wasn't the time to do it, or, we're not going to whatever it was. But at the end of the day, no matter how ill-timed or wrong you may think it is for a Democrat to plunk this in the middle of a committee meeting that had nothing to do with this, you basically voted to protect what we now know as the world's worst sex trafficker, as the world's most foremost pedophile. Think about all the pedophiles we know. There is none more famous than Jeffrey Epstein. And now your name will forever be associated with protecting him and whoever he was associated with from having more information released out to the public. The transparency that this administration promised, you directly voted against. If that's me, if I'm a Republican, which I'm an independent, but if I'm a Republican, that vote comes to it, I say proudly, this isn't the time to do this, but I vote in favor. There's no way you're going to see Anthony's name next to a voted against putting out Jeffrey Epstein. I don't even care if it's like, here's a bill to kill Anthony's mom and release the Epstein things. I'm going to look in the camera and be like, I'm so sorry, Mom. You were great to me. Just right here. This isn't personal. This is business. I'm going to try and, do whatever I can to hide you for the next whatever long it takes. But I'm not voting to protect Jeffrey Epstein no matter what. I love you to death. So here's the people. Here are the 7 Republicans who voted to block the Epstein files. Chairwoman Virginia Foxx of North Carolina's 5th District. Michelle Fishback of Minnesota's 7th. Erin Hoshin, Indiana's 9th. Nick Langworthy of the New York 23rd. Austin Scott, Georgia 8th. It's a good name. Morgan Griffith, Virginia 9th. And Brian Jack of the Georgia 3rd. Those who voted for the release: Jim McGovern, Mary Gay Scanlon, Joe Negussi, Silly Negussi, as I like to call him, Teresa Ledger Fernandez, and Ralph Norman, the Republican from South Carolina. So those are all the ones who voted for him. And it was all in vain, too. It was all in vain, too, because the Ro Khanna came out of that and he wound up finding a Republican who wasn't afraid enough to put a bill like this on the floor. And Rep. Thomas Massie, a Republican, and Ro Khanna introduced an Epstein Files Transparency Act, a bipartisan bill to require the Attorney General, Pam Bondi, to release the files within 30 days. Massie is working on the rule to ensure there is a vote. The public deserves to know where every member stands. That was a tweet from Ro Khanna. Massie says, we all deserve to know what's in the Epstein files, who's implicated, and how deep this corruption goes. Americans were promised justice and transparency. And that is from a Republican who doesn't always agree with this administration, but a Republican nonetheless. And that's what we need in these times. You need real leadership. This isn't a partisan issue. It's a transparency issue, and it's a safety of our children issue. And this coming from the Republican Party that wants to ban books and all sorts of crazy things, transgender issues and drag queen shows and all this stuff. Some warranted a tiny bit, some not, most not. And all of a sudden, when it comes to protecting the world's foremost authority in pedophilia, they're all of a sudden like, I don't know. You can't be out there acting like a drag queen reading books to kids is wrong and then go, we can't have the Epstein files out there. That's fucking crazy. That's the definition of absurdity. In all my time on the world, and with all the stupid, dumb, illogical things that have come out of Meghan Markle's mouth, she has never said anything that fucking stupid. Never. And she is the most stupid human being we currently still have on the planet alive. By the way, there's so much on this Epstein stuff. I haven't even been able to get to my Meghan Markle rage of the day today. So there was a little tidbit for you there. There's a little bloop, little thing in there for you. What did we miss here? Trump responds to reporters. All right. So Trump was out on this is my favorite president interview of all time. This has nothing to do with the current administration. I love all presidents who do the tarmac interview, the choppers on the lawn, getting fueled up, getting ready to go. and that just hissing noise, and they're out there like, what? And the reporters are screaming shit. Biden was the best at it because that guy couldn't hear shit in a quiet room. In the press briefing room, he couldn't hear anything. But when he would be out there on the lawn waiting for that chopper to take off, he really couldn't hear anything. Anyway, the question to President Trump was, did Pam Bondi tell you that you were named in the Epstein files? And here was his response.
That your name appeared in the file.
No, she's given us just a very quick briefing, and in terms of the credibility of the different things that they've seen. And I would say that, these files were made up by Comey, they were made up by Obama, they were made up by the Biden, we went through years of that with the Russia hoax, with all of the different things that we had to go through. We've gone through years of it, but she's handled it very well, and it's going to be up to her. Whatever she thinks is credible, she should release. Yeah.
On Texas, how many more seats?
All right, so there you go. So that was the too much amp. That was the response from President Trump a little while ago. So, and again, the interesting thing there too. Oh, this is hilarious, Robin. This is funny. It's not a bike, baby. It's a chopper. Whose is it? Zed's. Who's Zed? Zed's dead, baby. Anyway, I digress. He softens it a little bit there, right? He's like, hey, if she thinks it's credible, she should release it. That's not what he's saying on Truth Social. That's not what he's been saying all the days prior to that moment right there. He was not talking like that. I think even though he lost his shit, because by the way, this was before he lost his shit this morning on Truth Social, I think he's reading the room and realizing I'm not going to win this. I don't think he's going to give up. I think he's going to continue to burn it down because that's just what he does. That's just who he is. I'll fucking burn it down. I don't care. Like, we'll just burn the fucking thing to the ground. It doesn't matter to him. But he softened there. He was like, if she thinks it's really, that was way different from, are we still talking about this? Are we still, because he's got to know deep in his heart, he's going to lose this. And he's cost himself so much currency by being on the wrong side of this for a week and a half that I don't know if it's ever going to be something that he recovers from. He's going to finish out his term. And I agree with him. He's done a lot in 6 months. It may not be what you've wanted, especially if you're a Democrat. This may not be your bag. It may not be what you want, but the administration is moving at 100 miles an hour, sometimes to a fault, like we've seen with Doge and all that stuff. But for the most part, in this country, we've been so complacent and also at the same time angry at our government for just doing nothing all the time. He's doing something. He's got these people working and moving. He is. Things are happening. So I'll give him that. You got to give him that. And I wish the Democrats and the liberals would give him that. Because I also think, besides it's the credit that he deserves, it points out the absurdity of his stance on this Epstein thing. He complains that this Epstein thing is a hoax to drown out all his success. If I was the Democrats and the liberals, I would be like, give the man his credit. Give the man his, what do they call it? Give him his what's the phrase? Give him his snaps. What do the kids say? Give him his kudos. Give him what he's got coming to him. Because then he can't say, well, you're just, no, because the criticism here is not coming from the left. It's coming from Americans. It's coming from American citizens who want to know what this guy was, who was involved in him. And this way we can prevent some shit like this in the future. That's what everybody's afraid of. All the stuff that happened to Epstein, with Epstein, was horrible. What he did to people. There's nothing we can do about it now. The average American citizens, the average Joes and Jills, we can't do anything about it. We can't take that pain away from people. But we're all thinking the same thing, is We got to know what this was so that we can make sure it doesn't happen again. That's what everybody's saying. That's why people care. When he turns around in the cabinet meeting, he goes, why do people still care about this? It's not that they care about it so much as they don't want to see it happen again. That's what he's failed to realize throughout this entire process. And that's why he's on the wrong side. And this is going to last his entire presidency. He could find the cure for cancer in year 3 of this presidency. And I hope he does. I hope he does. I hope he has the doctors in place to finally crack that code and find the cure for cancer. And when they memorialize this Trump presidency, when they talk about him after he's dead and gone, they're going to say, this was the guy who was president when they cured cancer. He found a way to cure cancer. He did it. He fixed, bad, low pressure shower heads, and he found the cure for cancer. They're going to give him his praise. And then they're also going to say, but he was the president that tried to cover up for Jeffrey Epstein. That's going to be part of his legacy. And it's only been 10 days. It's been 10 days. And I mean it. He could find the cure for cancer, and they'll say, as a negative, he was also the guy that covered up for Jeffrey Epstein, unfortunately. I watched that awful History Channel, The Presidency of the United States. It's like a great program. And they go through every president, and they talk about their presidency and the challenge they faces and what they accomplished, what they didn't accomplish, what they failed at. And they talk about what they tried to do but couldn't do. They lay out all these things, and it's so interesting over time. And it's funny. From Trump, from George Washington to Obama, because that show was made while Obama was still president. From George Washington to Obama, George Washington's segment's like huge, and then they all are big. But as you get closer to the more modern presidents, they get smaller and smaller, with Bush and Obama having like the least amount said about them, but they still laid out like what a success was and what a failure was in those administrations. Because every president you could look at, hey, this is what they did pretty good, and this is what they didn't do. This is what they were unfairly characterized as, and this is what they actually wound up accomplishing. Like Jimmy Carter is one of those great stories where he did not have the best presidency, but his life after the White House was like tremendous. There's so many presidents that laid the groundwork for stuff that didn't necessarily pop as a success while they were in office or when they just left office. But then you look at it 20 years later, and it was like, thank God they did that. Because it saved us. John Adams to name one. There's a bunch. Doesn't matter. There's a bunch of instances where that happened. Him covering up for Epstein here will be the thing that is part of his legacy. You watch. And if I'm wrong, be like 30 years from now, I will most likely be dead by then. So that's why I feel really confident in saying that. There's no way with how much Oreos I've eaten in my life, even though I'm eating healthier now, that this heart lasts another 30 years. There's no fuck away. So I can confidently say this will be a part of his legacy and not really feel all that bad about it. It is a special instance, though, because like I said, Mike Johnson, in a rare ass move, broke from the president of the United States. Prior to this, the most I've seen Mike Johnson move away from the president of the United States was all the cryptocurrency thing and the White House dinners giving access and all that stuff. He was like, oh, listen, he's doing it all out in the open. Biden did it behind closed doors. Like, that was the closest Mike Johnson ever came to, I don't agree with what the president is doing. That was the closest until now, when he called for the Epstein files to be released. And he did that basically today. And that's not something, again, that we're used to. We're not used to seeing Mike Johnson and President Trump not being, step by step with each other. It's a rare break from President Trump. It really, really is. He said, quote, the administration should put everything out there and let the people decide, is what he told Benny Johnson yesterday. Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lauren Boebert, and John Kennedy are also among Republican who have broke with the Trump administration. That's not Taylor Greene's done that before, and Boebert will do anything to keep her name in the news. So that's not overly surprising, to be totally honest with you. It's really not. Let's go to this poll. Actually, you know what? Before the poll, I don't even think we put it on the rundown, but Maureen Comey was fired today. Paul had this in our Discord chat. Again, if you're not in the Discord chat, make sure you join. Link in the description below. It's a pretty good thing. It's actually, the links are in Spotify and YouTube. If you're watching on Facebook, you don't see those links. But the Discord is pretty good. Comey was fired. This is James Comey's daughter. She was on the Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell cases. She was on the Diddy case, which Diddy, he got convicted of 1 out of those 3 charges. So that was a wild failure. The Southern District of New York is not saying why she was fired. Nobody's basically commenting on that. My guess is it has a lot to do with this Sean Combs thing, but she wasn't the only prosecutor on that. Thanks, Robin, for putting the Discord in the YouTube live chat. Again, I love all the people who watch on Facebook or Kick, but YouTube is the place to go watch the show. Make sure you're watching on YouTube, especially if you're listening to this later on Spotify. Or if you're watching later on Spotify, we're live Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays right around 8:30. And by 8:30, I mean sometimes 9:20 Eastern Standard Time. But anyway, Bondi, the Southern District, nobody's really talking about it, but Comey is on the outs. So that has something to do with this, since he name-checked James Comey as one of the people that made up this Epstein thing, which, again, is one of the more absurd things you can say. It devalues all the, by the way, the Russia hoax, all that stuff. Donald Trump is right. The 51 intelligent agents, all that stuff, those are embarrassing moments in the history of our country. The dossier, all that, people should be ashamed of themselves for taking part of that. When that first popped, nobody really knew. I will fully admit, I was one of those people that was like, I don't really know. We just don't know what's real and what's not. And it took way too long. And I still stand by this. I don't think it would have swayed that election. But it was unfair that laptop was out there and the truth was withheld. It was unfair that those intelligence people sided against him. It was unfair. This is not unfair. This is real. And he's discounting the bad things that happened to him by being on the wrong side of this. Susan Wells is a smart gal. She got him elected. I have a hard time thinking that she's not saying this to him behind closed doors. She's not saying to him, you got to stop what you're doing. I have a hard time believing that. But okay, some asshole's going to say I got Trump derangement syndrome. So you're probably right. That's probably what it is. There was a Quinnipiac poll released just earlier today when they asked how the administration is handling this current Jeffrey Epstein controversy. And the results are shocking, as most polls typically are. 63% of the country believes that he is not handling this well. 63% of the voting public currently in the United States of America believe that Donald Trump is not handling the Epstein probe correctly. 17% approve of the administration's actions in the Epstein matter, while 20% said they were undecided. So when you break down those numbers, 37% of this country is completely stupid and should not only not be allowed to vote, but drive and walk amongst us, I believe. Because if you can sit there and say, I'm not really sure, or I think he's doing a great job, you should have your head checked. You should have your head checked. And 17% of this country having a mental illness, I don't think that's out. That sounds about right to me. That sounds about right. 20% being like, oh, I don't really know. But when you put it together, that 37%, that's an alarm. That's way too close to 50% for my liking. This poll should be the first poll in the history of polling to be 100% and 100% of the American voting public should be like, this is a colossal fucking failure. This is a colossal mistake. There's no fucking way that anybody really thinks this is a good job. I think that 17% out of that 17% who are clearly Trump supporters, I would say 15% of those people are like, I don't think he's doing a good job, but I'm not going to tell some fucking poll that because I don't want my guy to lose face. I have to believe it. I have to believe that because I can't believe people are that fucking stupid. I just can't. I refuse to. I'm far too much of an optimist. I really, really am. I really am. I can't believe that 17% of people really think he's doing a good job at this. I just can't. I just can't. You know what? I would send them to Cuck Island, Paul. That's not a bad solution if it wasn't for the fact that I think they'd have a great time over there. If you're that stupid enough to think that, that's not right. I shouldn't say that. That's an insult to cucks everywhere. Cucks aren't necessarily stupid people. I don't agree with them. I think it's weird to watch your partner bang somebody else, but that doesn't make them stupid. That doesn't make them bad people. The only thing that makes you a bad person is thinking that the administration is doing a great job at this and or supporting Meghan Markle. That's what makes you a bad person. Outside of that, you if you want to have somebody bang your spouse, God bless you. Go with you. You know, that's it is what it is. But I can't believe breaking it all down. When you look at 37% people are not on this is a bad move is crazy to me. It's great. That's crazy to me. Because again, it all goes back to how do we protect our children in the future? How do we identify what this guy was and spot it and stop it from happening again? Because at the end of the day, although I want to know the truth, that's just me. I like to know the truth. I just want to make sure more than anything that it doesn't happen again. That the next time around that we see somebody like this, we make sure that it stops way sooner than what Epstein eventually got it to. And by the way, not that these two things are related, but they kind of are. The Diddy thing is another instance of that. Powerful, wealthy, popular, famous. These people should not be able to get away with whatever they want because they're going to take advantage of and walk all over tons of innocent people. People that are, open to being taken advantage of. I like it when we're a society that protects our weakest link. That's what I like. I like that, So sometimes you got to give up a little to protect the weaker ones. I'm always going to be okay with that. I'd like a 75 mile per hour speed limit. I like to drive fast. I know I can get there, but I gotta go 55 sometimes because there's idiots and morons out there that can't handle it. I agree. It's fine. And it's true. When you're rich, you can do what you want. That's why. And again, 99% of this country doesn't have that kind of money. There's a reason why we have the 1%ers. There's a reason why that's a phrase. 99% of this country does not have that kind of money. So why is this poll only showing 63% of people unhappy? That doesn't make any sense. That's 36% of these people that you clearly missed the mark of where you should be. And as sure, again, I bring up Diddy because as sure as you're sitting there watching or listening to this program, somebody else is going to come along in a little while and they're going to do the same thing Diddy's doing. And God love us and God forbid somebody else is going to come along and do the same thing that Jeffrey Epstein did. And you don't want to make that same mistake twice. This is why I can't stand Candace Owens and all these people that are like, well, the Harvey Weinstein thing and this guy was mistreated. Easy. The world's a better place with Harvey Weinstein behind bars. The next Harvey Weinstein will think twice about doing shitty things to young women because of what happened to Harvey Weinstein. So I don't feel fucking bad for Harvey Weinstein. Not for a second. Did he get a raw deal? Was his trial a little unfair? Well, maybe. You know what else is unfair? A fat fucking predator preying on you for sex just to get something out of you just because you want to have a career in something that you've dreamed about forever. That's pretty fucking unfair too. Life is unfair. Deal with it. Deal with it. So don't give me that bullshit about, well, I think we got it right. Harvey Weinstein's behind bars. At the end of the day, I think we got that one okay. I can sleep plenty easy knowing that he's behind bars. They let that fucking sick fuck Cosby out. I felt a lot better when he was behind bars. Well, the trial was unfair. He did those things to those poor women. You get out on a technicality, you're not winning me over. And that guy's lived a fucking miserable life ever since. So it's not. I wish he was in jail, but he's lost his fame and all that shit. He deserves to rot in his fucking house. The Cosby hoax. It was made up by Obama and all the. Oh wait, I don't have to do that for this. I don't like Cosby that much either. I forgot. The Cosby hoax. That's fucking funny, Paul. That's really fucking good. Comey, Cosby. It's all fake news. Wait, how does Cosby feel about? I don't know how Cosby should feel. Should I be on his side? I'm not entirely sure. Let's see what he says publicly. Anyway, I think we'll leave it there. I feel like, again, that's a lot of Epstein stuff. Again, I was going to do 45 minutes on how bad Meghan Markle was, how a poor human being she was, but just didn't have the time. Oh, you know what? I do want to do this really quickly, just to break from all this sad news, just to do something else a little bit different, because I do like to keep my eye on the media landscape. And, for somebody that was in mainstream media and then broke off and went out on his own, because I think that takes a lot of balls to do that. I have a lot of friends still in the media industry, and God love them, God bless them. I have a lot of people that I really love dearly that are still in, and I pray for them every well, that's not true. I don't pray for them, but I'm rooting for them. I don't know if my prayers do anything. I think it's better that I don't pray for them. I don't bother God with my bullshit. I think that could backfire on them. But anyway, I pray every day, or I think about every day, that they get to keep their jobs and they do fairly well. Somebody that I really, really love works for public broadcasting, and that's being taken out to the woodshed, as you guys all know. And but I digress. I like it. I like when people go out and do on their own. For as weird as the media landscape is right now and how weird mainstream media is, I like that we have all these sources. I like that I get to do this for a living. I like that every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 8:30, we can come together live on YouTube and Facebook. And then people can watch it later on Spotify or listen on Apple Podcasts or whatever. And we can talk and exchange these ideas, because you couldn't do this 25 years ago. And I've been on mainstream radio. I've done morning radio, and I've done it all. I've done an everyday part. And I've worked at tons of radio stations, from legendary stations like CBS FM in New York City to WEHM and WLNG and Island, WMJC, all these places. I'm very proud of my mainstream media career, but I've never been as happy as I've been doing this. This is the absolute best. And I want to thank the AOA holes for allowing me to do it, because you guys are the absolute best. Everybody in this live chat right now, all the Discord people, all our members, I'm eternally grateful for you. I love that. And I love it because when I was in regular radio, It was a miserable, pride swallowing siege every single day to fight to do what I thought was right. What I take for granted now by doing this with you, I had to fight for this all along. I had to talk and deal with people that knew far less than I did and had to pretend like they knew what they were talking about and had to kiss their ass and had to go through all this bullshit. I can't tell you how many times I was right and I had to say, you're right, I'm wrong. I can't tell you how many times I would do things to benefit the people I work for. You know how much money I put into people's pockets over the course of my career? Not my own, but other people, wealthy people. I put money in their pocket and then I had to sit there and eat shit from them just to do what I wanted to do for a living. It was a miserable existence. So when I read stories about Pat McAfee and Dan Patrick, I mean, even people that I don't agree with, like Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson, who I can't stand, I'm happy to see that he's out doing his own thing. Don Lemon, who I've not agreed with a lot. I actually, I don't know how well his thing is going, but I'm happy he gets to do it. I'm happy he's doing it. You know, I'm happy that they've found an audience. They're providing value and entertainment and something to their audience. And I will say, and I named a lot of people there. One of the big originals was Dan Patrick. Dan Patrick left ESPN, and I don't even know the full story, but I know he's kind of hinted around this, that ESPN tried to ruin his career. And you may not know who Dan Patrick is, but he left ESPN television and went back to radio, his origins, and started a radio show and got it syndicated. And he's built a long career doing great work. And I admire the shit out of that. What Pat McAfee's been able to do, what Joe Rogan has been able to do, Call Her Daddy, Alex, what all these people have done is admirable. It's as admirable as the plumber who leaves his plumbing company to go start his own company. The chef who leaves the restaurant to go start his own diner. You know, all those people, I admire that so much, to be like, fuck it, I'll do it myself. I love that. I love that because I know how much shit a lot of people have to eat. It's not just media people. Like I said, it's chefs, it's accountants, it's, you could be a clerk at a wine store. You break out and you go start your own wine store. Awesome. That's awesome. Where I think media is different is you catch a lot of shit from the public at the same time. You know what I mean? Like if you're an accountant and you hate the agency you work for or the firm, I don't know what accountants do, and you find a way to break away from that and start your own firm, it's not like people are on Twitter going, boo, your firm sucks. You're never going to make it. You're shitty. You do math poorly. Like it doesn't happen to accountants. It happens to media people. And the reason why I'm bringing this all up is because another big shining example of this, because I've named some, Call Her Daddy is massive. Pat McAfee is massive. But those two entities were born out of Barstool Sports. And I've often been a fan of Barstool Sports from a perspective of, here's a guy who started doing something and he was able to turn it into a multi-million-dollar company that employs a lot of people and brings a lot of joy to a lot of the world. Have they made some mistakes? Have they done some stupid things? Of course. Who hasn't? But what they've built over there is awfully impressive, and I've always admired it from afar. And today the story broke or was leaked, and it's not fully official just yet, I don't think. But there's a story out there that the founder of Barstool Sports, Dave Portnoy, is about to sign a deal with Fox Sports where he'll be on some college football show or whatever. I don't even know. I like Dave Portnoy plenty. I disagree with all his pizza tastes. I don't think he knows anything about pizza. I think he's got an adorable dog. I think he's a funny person. I think he's a spectacular media personality. And more than anything, I think that he embodies what I've always looked for in the media business, which is somebody that can foster talent. There's very few of those people. Very, very, very few of those people. In my entire career, I am not really sure I can consider one person who I worked for that fostered talent. His name was Mike. He was great. I'm a big fan of his. I don't know. I don't want to say too much. I don't want to out anybody or cause any problems for other people. But I went through tough times, and I had one guy that was like, just keep doing what you're doing. And they would fight for me against ownership and upper management, and they were great. I've had some people try for me, Darren, who tried for me a couple times. I've had some people that I did not work for that were champions of mine. Al knows who he is. Still I love that man. Always a big supporter. There's been a few, but I've never really worked for anybody that was like, you're going to be the guy and that's the end of it. You got my full support all the way 100%, Mike was great, but he had some limitations, no fault of his own, through no fault of his own. But Dave Portnoy has put a lot of people on, like Pat McAfee and Alex from Call Her Daddy and all that stuff. What I love about the story is, and this is the same, you could say the same thing for Pat McAfee, but I think Portnoy really encapsulates it. The mainstream media, Fox Sports, ESPN, regular radio stations, for the longest time, for the last 20 years, they would just beat down their personalities. Don't say that. Don't talk about that. Make it about the music. It's not about you, right? Their playbook was wrong. All they did was drive people to satellite radio, right? They drove Howard Stern away, for the love of God. They drove people to satellite radio, not just personalities, but listeners, because they put out a shit, inane product, because they didn't foster talent, and then they drove people to podcasting, right? Just by all this stuff. And through podcasts, through Twitter, through Facebook, Instagram, all these different personalities started to pop and started to come to the top. I'm not even talking about media people podcasts. I'm talking about like the person who crochets a lot or the artist who sells their paintings. Like they found these alternate ways and they made it. And it's great. And Barstool is one of those instances where Dave was like, if nobody's going to hire me, I'll do it myself. Pat McAfee was like, if nobody's going to hire me, I'll do it myself. And now you have these huge media corporations like Fox Sports and ESPN going back to these alt people going, we need your help. We're not doing well, and we need you. And I gotta tell you, I just fucking love it. I love it. Because although it's not for everybody, I keep my eye on all the media stuff, and Pat McAfee is one of those instances that you just want to look at because you're like, I don't know if he needs the ESPN deal. I think it makes him bigger. I think it's better for ESPN than it is for him because he's been wildly successful on his own. But it'll be interesting to see what happens here. And that's been a bumpy road for anybody following it. It's been a bumpy road. But I've kept an eye on it because I think it's intriguing and interesting to see how it's going to turn out. But I think it's big that ESPN had to go to a simple podcaster and say, we are getting our asses kicked and we need you on our side now. We want you to do it your way, but for us. And that's the tide turning. And I fucking love it because if anybody came up in media or any industry where you just had to just eat shit for years and get to the point where you got tired that you had to break off and do it on your own, to see that the other side has now come crawling back is very satisfying. And it feels like a win. It feels like a win. I'll admit to you, I left the radio business. I left it. And I said to myself, that's it. I won't do it again. And I've wavered on that. And there are times where I've been like, maybe I will go back. I've had conversations with people where I'd be like, I can't believe I might hop back into this. And if I'm sitting there being fair to you, I'll be honest. Like, there's been temptations and there's been conversations where it's like, I just have to sit here in my own home studio and record stuff for an hour and send it somewhere and I'll get paid a bunch of money for it. I'm not going to lie to you. I might still do that. I wish I wouldn't. I'm never going back in and giving myself up like I did before. Never. But there's always that possibility that there might be a chance. But I've had opportunities and I've had offers in the past. And I've been like, I don't want to dip my toes back in this water. I don't want to be a part of it. But it was satisfying as all hell to hear radio people have to pick up their phone and talk to me and say, what do you think about coming? Like, we need you. We've been talking about you in the hallways. And do you think this might work? There's nothing more satisfying than that. So I'm not even getting these $1 million deals from Fox Sports and ESPN like McAfee and Portnoy. But to see people that have gone through the battle now be the ones entertaining offers, it makes us feel like we all want a little. It might be weird to say that, but it kind of makes me feel like I didn't know if I would ever live to see the day where the alt people would win. And this might be the second of many deals where, well, maybe they are winning. I mean, you can even make that argument. Rogan going to Spotify, Caller Daddy going to Sirius XM. You know, these people who get so huge that the mainstream has to bend to them. It's very satisfying because, again, although it might not be happening directly to me, maybe the next Anthony coming up will find a way and not have to go through the shit that I went through. And that would be nice. And anybody who's ever gone through any kind of shit in their life will tell you they just don't want to see it happen to anybody else, no matter what it is. Getting beat up on, getting abused by that, whatever it is. You don't want to see that shit continue. You know, anybody will tell you that. This does feel like podcast confessions of Anthony. My best pal in the whole world in the radio business, Brian the Cannon Bannon. Thank you, and very proud of what both of us are doing now and respect all that we've learned to get us here. Yeah, 100%, dude. 100%. I would have probably left a year earlier if it wasn't for Brian. I can tell you that. In my last dying days on regular radio, Brian was the only one who made it tolerable. It's probably the only reason why I stayed for as long as I did. And I don't want to tell anybody else's story, but you know, for my friends that are in public radio that are fighting the good fight, just keep fighting. Just keep going. Because I'm rooting for you. Because even though I try and be fair on this show and I give the current administration credit for doing some things, one of the things that I think they're doing horrifically wrong is taking away funding from public broadcasting. Because between radio and Sesame Street, and you just can't mess with those things. You know, public radio was a big thing in New York. We had so many radio stations that I never really listened to it, but I did get to an age where I was kind of like, I got to find something else to listen to, you know, and I would be out there searching for stuff. And there was some great public radio shows that I came across that were like godsends, that it was like, hey, you're not going to hear this on big commercial radio stations, but you'll hear it here. And it's like, fuck, this is awesome. You know, we have a station on Long Island called WUSB. It's Stony Brook University. It's a public university, and it's their radio station. It's just run by a bunch of pothead fucking hippies. And I know some of them, I probably shouldn't shout him out, but Norm is one of the guys who's been there forever. Norm Prusselin, look him up. I fucking love that guy. He's just a burnt out old hippie. He's at every Grateful Dead show. Just does radio. I love weird fucking people doing weird things. And sometimes public radio is the only place you could find that. I mean, before podcasting, and the internet, public radio was the only place for misfits to exist. And you want that to keep going. You want that to keep being a thing. So keep fighting that good fight. Although I will never, outside of these airwaves, publicly support you with any any sort of gesture. I'm not donating or any shit like that. Know that if I could run my mouth and help you, I will. No, I will donate. I don't know what we could do, but if we gotta, I'll donate to any public radio station as long as there's a fucking tote bag coming back my way. Because I'm not donating if there's no tote. No tote, no dote. No dote. Dote doesn't even make sense. That doesn't even work for donate. But whatever. You know what I was getting at. Now, somebody asked me about the TikTok thing. I'm not going to do it tonight. I can't find the comment now. By the way, we might have set I feel like the comments have been like, I'm going to check afterwards because YouTube tells me if we've I feel like we broke a record with comments. You guys have been just great. Oh, fuck. This is funny. Fly and Y, you might have to, that might be a shirt. Cuck FM. That might be good. See, in the States, east of the Mississippi, Brian, you'll correct me. I think it's the Mississippi. East of the Mississippi is W. So like WCBS, all the stations start with a W. West of the Mississippi, all the stations start with a K. But in Canada, the stations start with a C. So Cuck FM is not beyond the realm of possibility. And that might be a T-shirt. That might be a T-shirt. I know the West is K. West is K, East is W, but is the Mississippi still the line? I think it was Mississippi. And because wasn't there a weird thing, Brian? Brian's like a radio guy. He might know this, he might not know this. Wasn't there a weird thing where there was a K station east of the Mississippi and it was like, this is the only one that's like east of the, I feel like that was a thing at one point, but I'm not 100% sure. I didn't know this, that X was Mexico. That's pretty good. That's pretty cool. There's a K station in Pittsburgh. Is that what it is? Yeah, I knew there was something like that. Oh, we could just go with WCUK. That's not bad too, Robin. We're live here in the WCUK studio. I love old radio station T-shirts, so we might have to have a Cuck tie-in radio station T-shirt made. I don't even care if we don't sell anything. I just want to make it so I could wear it. That'd be pretty fucking cool. That would be really WCUK might be better than just CUCK because it's less obvious that way, you know. What is day is this guy eating or is he singing the old Crash Test Dummy song? I'm not entirely sure what's happening. Are you enjoying a delicious muffin or are you about to break into verse? Mm-hmm. Look at Brian. This is my man. He's on it. WCUK is available for call letters. That's pretty amazing because the word is all the great call letters were gone. And here we go. We have found some great call letters that are still available. That's amazing. Brian, I might follow up with you on how we can get that without actually having to have a radio station. Is there a way to do that? I know there was a way to name a star without actually owning a star. That was a scam that was run at some point. So you think we'd be able to buy some call letters for pretty cheap. Oh no, is WCUM a thing? Oh boy. Oh, who picked that one? Somebody's in trouble for that one. Should we put the call letters in our station IDs? No, what are you, fucking crazy? Keep it really low. To say it really, really low so nobody can hear it. You can't say WCUM with fucking 18-year-olds around. They're going to laugh their ass off every single time. Here you go, Lindarella. I have a star. My ex-husband bought me one. Now I know why he's your ex-husband. That makes a lot of sense now. That makes a lot of sense. Frank had a star named after him, too. I thought it was the coolest shit. I remember walking into Frank's room and I'm like, holy shit, you have a star named after you? And then when I got old enough, I heard the commercial and I'm like, I'm going to buy a fucking star. And then they tell you oh, this is just it was a weird thing. It's like in the copyright office or something. And I'm like, oh, that doesn't really mean anything. And it's like, of course, who could purchase an actual star? You kind of have when I read that, I was like, that makes sense, idiot. Like, why would you be able to buy a star? This is stupid. Stupid. I mean, it's a cool thing to get a kid. I'm not, it is cool. I probably still buy my kid that if he wanted it, but I was like 23 when I'm like, I'm going to buy a star. And I looked it up and I was like, oh, now I see. Now I get it. I'm an idiot. A Sagaponic radio station might be for sale. Yeah, keep me posted on that. I might buy it. What are those going for these days, Brian? 50, 60 bucks? I can scrounge that up. Fuck, we can raise that right now in the live chat and everybody could have stock in the company. Everybody get a little piece. That would be nice for everybody to get a little piece. Dude, I'm telling you, the day I found out from somebody that I used to work with that I don't even want to say it, but I drove a crazy amount of revenue at one of my, like a crazy amount of revenue. I found out that basically almost 80% of the people working there were making a salary off of what I was doing. It was fucking crazy. And I should have known better because it was like, I was in a cluster with a group of 3 radio. There was no other morning show hosts. There was no other afternoon. Every station had one person on it live. And I was like, oh, this makes sense now. Like, of course they're not making money over there. But it was stupid. It was stupid. You don't think of these things when you're coming up. You're just so happy to be there and have the opportunity. Anyway, the TikTok thing. I'm not going to get into it other than to say we started a new TikTok this morning. In fact, the links for this episode are probably not even correct yet. We didn't have a chance to change it yet, but we got a hold of a new TikTok this morning. We were banned off of TikTok. So if you can find it in your heart to support the new TikTok, if you're on the TikTokers, please follow. I don't even know what our name is. Hold on. Anthony On Air Pod. So go search Anthony On Air Pod on TikTok. We've only got 3 videos. We've got the 3 videos we put up today. We have a whopping 6 followers. As we sit here and speak, I still don't know the new camera. As we sit here and speak, and it's not going to focus, but you can. I don't know if you can see that. We got fucking. Just trust me, it's 6. I don't know anybody else who would brag that we have 6 followers, but we've got 6. 6 fucking followers because we got banned off of TikTok, and I'm not going to go into. Oh, by the way, my wife just followed me. Son of a bitch. This TikTok's been live all day long, and she chooses 8:30 to follow me. I'm going to go pick a fight with her. I will give you the reasons why, and I will tell you a lot more next episode, Friday. Frankie C is on vacation. He's in fabulous. I don't think I should say where he is, but he's in a beach town having a good old time, getting a tan. And when he comes back, we'll handle the new radio wars. We used to call it back in the day. I've got issues with some people, and I'm going to lay it all out for you then. And I must be maturing because in the past, I would have just screamed about this as soon as it happened. I don't know if you remember Monday's episode. I was pretty upset. I couldn't even remember anything that was going on because I had just found out about it. And I don't know if this person is responsible for us losing our TikTok, but I've already let that go. I've got a couple issues with somebody, and we're going to address it. We're going to address it on Friday. So if you like the nasty stuff, come back Friday. Friday should be a good show. Friday should be a pleasant show. I don't know what else is going to happen with this Epstein thing. I don't know if Meghan Markle will do something else stupid. I mean, pretty much probably. I passed on the Meghan Markle stuff. That said, I could do a Meghan Markle every show. I'm trying to limit it. But I will tell you, Meghan Markle is a part of what's going to happen on Friday's episode. So I don't mean to drag this out, but I'm trying to be mature and handle things better. But I'm not going to be Mr. Nice Guy come Friday. So you got a little something to look forward to there. Appreciate all the comments. Again, I don't know why. I just feel like we've had a comment record episode. So I'm going to take a look when the show's done, and I'll let you guys know, maybe on Discord or in the members area or whatever, next show. Frankie C back next show. The whole reason why we're all upset next show. Follow us on the new TikTok, Anthony On Air Pod. If you've got the TikTok, donate to your local PBS station. I got to find out if there's a place where we could throw some money. You know who you are out there that works for the public radio. You could text me, tell me. Because maybe we'll throw some shekels your way if at all possible. The AOA holes are very generous people. So,
show me potato salad.
Thanks, everybody. I'll see you on Friday.
Maybe we should go now.
Go ahead.